Welcome to the Krista Redpath Show, where sports take center stage and stories come to life. I'm your host, Krista, veteran analyst and passionate storyteller, bringing you weekly in-depth conversations and sharp analysis across the world of sports. The Krista Redpath Show, breaking down the game, elevating the story, and championing the female voice. Today's show is brought to you by Laird Karlie, Montana's professional team of attorneys. In Montana, we value teamwork, integrity, and looking out for one another, and that's exactly what you'll find at Laird Karlie. From planning for future to resolving disputes, their experienced attorneys are here to guide you every step of the way. With offices in Missoula and Helena, Laird Karlie, helping you navigate life's legal challenges the Montana way. Visit lairdkarlie.com or call 406-541-7400. This week on the Krista Redpath Show, we are continuing to take you around the Big Sky in women's hoops, stopping in Cheney, Washington to spotlight Eastern Washington head coach Joddie Gleason, the 2024 Big Sky Coach of the Year, who led the Eagles to their first ever NCAA tournament. We'll break down her rise, her culture of toughness, and what's next for Eastern Washington women's hoops. From Colusa County to Cheney, Washington, Joddie Gleason's journey is one built on grit, growth, and championship culture. A two-time Kodak All-American at Chico State, she was one of the most prolific scorers in program history and found both her passion for coaching and her lifelong teammate, husband Skip, on those hardwood floors. Together, they've built winning programs across every level, from Butte College to Humboldt State to Seattle U, and today, they continue to lead Eastern Washington to new heights. In 2023-2024, Coach Gleason guided the Eagles to a record-breaking 29 wins, a Big Sky championship, and an NCAA tournament berth, earning her the title of Big Sky Coach of the Year. On this episode, we're going to talk about her roots, the partnership behind the success, the unforgettable season that put Eastern Washington women's basketball back on the map, and an inside look at the upcoming season. This is the Krista Redpath Show, breaking down the game, elevating the story, and championing the female voice. Joddie, it's great to welcome you in my show. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat with you today.
So today, I really can't wait to dive into your career and revisit the historic 2024 season and preview this year. But first, we need to go back to the beginning of your basketball journey. You're a Northern California native from Colusa County. When did basketball first take hold for you?
Sports was just part of our life growing up. I have a older brother and a younger brother. My dad was a coach in our small town. Colusa, California is a population of about 5,000. And, you know, it's one of those towns where you go to elementary school, middle school, high school, all with the same kids. And you just kind of, for us, it was just all about playing outside and playing all kinds of sports. I played everything growing up, you know, from wiffle ball, football, basketball. And so it was just kind of shooting in the front yard with my brothers. And then I didn't really play on a team until middle school. It was, you know, just not something that was around in my area. I played a lot of softball, probably as the youngest sport that I played. And then middle school, I started playing basketball and into high school. And then I played volleyball, basketball, and softball all 4 years in high school. So it was just, you know, an athletic team, or athletic family, and just something that we always did.
So what led you to Chico State?
It's relatively close to home. It's only about 45 minutes from Colusa. My older brother was there. It's just kind of a spot where a lot of people go from my area. And I wasn't recruited there. I was actually somebody that, you know, called the coach and went and walked on and had to redshirt my first year. So that was always a humbling experience. You know, you're the big fish coming out of high school, and then, you know, you don't make the regular roster. It was a team that had, I think, 8 seniors. It was just really senior laden. And so it was one of probably the hardest things, but one of the best things for me, because I just gained a lot of experience and played against some really good players. And you just kind of learned how to play at the college level without wasting eligibilities. You know, it was tough at first, but I really learned from that. And so, you know, Chico's a great college town. It was, you know, something that, you know, was really comfortable for me going in. And then we ended up living there afterwards and coaching at Butte College, which is the junior college in the area. So it's a nice area where, you know, we have family and so it was a great fit for me.
So Joddie, you remain the only Chico State women's basketball player to be twice named Kodak All-American. You still hold the school record for the highest single season scoring at 19 and a half points per game. And at the time when you left, you ranked second all-time in scoring at 1,673 of your Wildcat program. You were named the Northern California Athletic Conference Player of the Year in 91-92. And as a senior, you were voted Chico State Senior Athlete of the Year, and you achieved also academic honors. What was it like playing at Chico State during that era? What made the program and the community special?
Like I mentioned, it's a college town. The people just rally around Chico. There isn't another college. There aren't any professional teams. It's kind of the big fish there as far as athletics go. It's a D2 program. We played in the it's the CCAA now, but it was split in half. The northern section was separate from the south. And so there were some really good rivalries with UC Davis, Humboldt State. We played Sac State, but they weren't in the conference at the time. But it was just, some really good rivalries, some really good basketball at the time, and just where you build all your friendships and where you make lasting memories. And so I just loved my experience there.
So you met your husband Skip during those years too. So Can you tell us the story of how basketball brought you two together? Or maybe it didn't. You met in class, or how did that come about? It's
kind of strange. We're only about 9 months apart in our birthdays, but we're 2 grades. So I am young in my class and he's old in his class. So we didn't play at the same time. He came in and ended up redshirting his first year as well, and then went to Butte College, to junior college, so he could play basketball and baseball, and then came back. And so by then I had finished and was in grad school. And so Skip and my brother Jason played at the same time at Chico State and were really good friends. So we didn't really meet during college, during my undergrad. It was during my grad school in his last year at Chico, and just met, through my brother, and, just started dating during that grad school process. And then he stayed and went to grad school as well. So yeah, it wasn't during the undergrad years. It was more afterwards.
Did you have a goal of coaching together? I mean, you're side by side now as he's your associate head coach, but was it the journey all along? Like, this is what we want to do, or how did that evolve?
No, we both actually went to college to be elementary school teachers, and I didn't have the idea of coaching in college at all until my college coach asked me my senior year to stay with her as a grad assistant. So I did that, but then I started my teaching credential, and it's tough to coach while you're doing that. So, I kind of was stepped away for 1 second, but somehow I did both. I got my master's, did my teaching credential, and coached with her for 3 years. And then as an assistant, and then you kind of get that itch. That's where it all started. But then I ended up going and starting my career and started as an elementary school teacher and high school coach for a couple years. And then the Butte College job opened up, and my coach really pushed me to apply for it. At the time I was just not thinking that was something I would even be qualified for, that I did not have enough experience, all those kinds of things that we tell ourselves. And she really pushed me and really, helped me get that job. So then I started coaching junior college for 5 years, and the Humboldt State job opened up, and my coach had passed away, unfortunately, at that time. But the men's coach at Chico State helped me get that job because he had coached my brother and my husband Skip, and so he really was instrumental in helping me secure that Humboldt State job. And then you finally have a full-time coaching gig, because all of that had been part-time, where you're kind of trying to balance multiple jobs and whatnot. But and that's when I finally, took the path of coaching only.
Well, as you mentioned, your coaching career really has touched every level, from Butte Community College to Humboldt State to Seattle U, and now Eastern Washington. What stands out when you look at that path of what led you to Cheney?
Yeah, I think the college town atmosphere is something that I just really love. That's my roots at Chico State, and then I was at Humboldt State for 12 years, which has the same type of vibe. It's a college town where there aren't any other colleges. There's no pro teams. It's the only gig, and just tons of community support and all of that. And then we decided to try to get our experience at the Division I level. So we ended up leaving to go to Seattle to get that experience. And then the Cheney job opened up and we came over here and just loved the vibe, just loved the people, just the type of support that we have. And it's all about the relationships with people. And so all along, that's kind of been something that stands out for me. It's all about, building those relationships with our players, with the community, with, anybody that's involved in the program and at each university as well. So, that's kind of the thing that really drives me and something that I cherish the most.
Well, we really breezed over your Humboldt State years. I mean, you became the winningest coach in program history with 201 wins. I don't want to just overlook that because that's so impressive. So building a championship caliber team at the D2 level, can you elaborate on that journey?
Yeah. I went there and Skip was not my assistant at the time. He was coaching. He helped coach on the men's side for a year, and then he was a head coach at the junior college there. So we were kind of separate the first 3 years. And I know it was tough. I came in, they had won, I think, 3 or 4 games the year prior. And, the last few years hadn't done very well. And so it was really kind of starting over and really trying to build the culture and the mentality that, we can win here. And it was hard, obviously, at first. And at the D2 level, it's you and your assistant, and that's really it. And so you do all the scheduling, all the scouting, all the things that now we have such a big staff for. But it's just kind of what you do. You just learn how to roll with it. And after 3 years, my assistant got a head coaching job, and then I was able to hire Skip to join me, and that was kind of where we started coaching together, and we haven't stopped. But it's just something that works well for us and our marriage. A lot of people say, I don't know how you guys do it, but it works for us, and it's always been our marriage is first. Obviously, if it didn't work, we wouldn't be doing it. But we're a nice balance. And he's really good at coaching. And so it's kind of like we have 2 coaches that, are really passionate and understand the game and are all in on one thing.
Well, I love it because the time that I spent with both of you, you've given me a lot of attention over the years, and I obviously passion with calling the tournament, and hopefully I'll be able to call more games as TV coverage just continues to expand. But what I felt is how respectful you are of each other, and you both have your strengths. And it really shows when I had an opportunity to interview both of you, and it's almost like the yin and yang. And you finish each other's sentences, but you also push each other, which I think is something that maybe gets overlooked with maybe having a different dynamic with that being your husband, that you feel like, hey, you know what, I can just say it, and this is what we have to do. But it seems like the 2 of you, it's just a partnership.
Yes, for sure. I think that, like I said, we just balance each other out. I'm pretty type A and high strung, and he is the one that is usually mellows me out to see the bigger picture and just to, appreciate the little things in life and that kind of thing. So I think that that's kind of part of it, but he's also just a really good recruiter and coach. And so, I haven't hired him because he's my husband. It's because he's really good at his job. And so, it's kind of the side benefit, I guess, that we get to be all in together and travel and do all the things that, most coaches don't. Your spouse is home. And there's some tough times when you're both gone and you have a family and you're trying to figure out who's, the coverage for that. But that's probably something that we just have figured out along the way.
Well, and that's what I want to talk about. Your daughter, Rami, she's busy. I mean, she's a teenager now, right? And so she's got lots of activities, and you're trying to manage that, right? And balance that. I've given her many shout outs on the air over the years. Do your players sense that family dynamic and draw from it?
For sure. I think that it's something that, a lot of programs preach, right? Everybody says family in their huddles and, talks about it in their recruiting pitches, and we live it. It's just part of our life. I think that coaching is a lifestyle. It's not a job for us. And so it's more about, the whole program is our family, and we've moved away from our family. We've moved from California up here, and we don't have any ties. And so you just really start to build that family atmosphere with your players and with the boosters and different people that are part of the program. And with Rami, she's around less now that she's older because like you
That's
said,
teenagers,
she's so busy.
right? They have their own stuff. I got a couple of those too, but they definitely have their own lives too.
Yeah. And so we try to bring her in as much as we can, but, we practice in the middle of the day. So she's not at practice and she just tries to come around we have barbecues at our house and, different events, tailgating with football and all those kinds of things. So she's around as much as we can. And then she'll be in the locker room, after games and stuff like that. So the players really know her and try to, get to know her, but she's just not on road trips as much as she was when she was little. She came on every road trip when she didn't have to miss school.
Those would have been your Seattle U years. She would have been coming with you. So you took over Eastern Washington in 2021, right after a really challenging stretch for Eastern Washington. You inherited a program where you really had to take things to another level and find your own way. What ultimately drew you to Cheney? I know there were other opportunities for you, but we talked a little bit about the community, but was the Big Sky Conference a draw for you?
Yeah, at Seattle U, we played up and down the Big Sky. I think almost every team, if not all, and was pretty familiar with that. And then I just love the fact, all the college towns, right? That we are in a college town and then that's where you go. And I think that, those communities are really cool. I'd love to be a part of that. I think that it's a really good conference. It's one of the top mid-major conferences. When you look at power rankings at the end of the year, I think that there isn't enough talked about that the Big Sky knocks off a lot of other teams in West Coast Conference, Mountain West, all the Big West, all of that. So I think that it's a really good basketball conference and it's fun to be a part of. It's fun to travel to all these places.
So then in 2023, 2024, it really all came together. 29 wins. That's 8 more than the previous program record, a Big Sky championship, and a group that changed Eastern Washington women's basketball forever, honestly. It is really impressive to look at that group and what they accomplished. Can you take us back to Boise? I'd love to revisit that. March 13th, 2024. What was the energy like in the locker room heading into the Big Sky Conference Championship against Northern Arizona?
That group was, as you said, just an amazing basketball team, but they were just amazing human beings. They also had a lot of fun. And so we, right before the game, there's music playing, they're dancing, they're singing. We had a song that they would play over and over. And I think that there was the combination of, recognizing that it is a championship game, but also that we are just out here having fun and making sure that we recognize that and, enjoy every single moment. And that was kind of something that we tried to do that year was, try to enjoy every moment that we had with each other. We knew that it was something special from the beginning. And so it just seems like it went by so fast. And at that time we were just trying to embrace it and enjoy it.
Well, it was my first official game for ESPN on TV. So I'd called many for, ESPN Plus, but I just remember feeling that excitement too. This is a first for me. And just looking at your team and the chemistry and the camaraderie. And I feel like calling the full tournament, Joddie, I love it because I get to prevail. I get to go with the teams all the way through it. So I felt emotionally invested and I was sharing with ESPN pictures of Jamie Luetta when she was young. And it was just it was so fun to be a part of that. And I will say the ESPN broadcast is actually easier the further you go because you have a producer in your ear and they're telling you all these amazing facts. And there were plenty of them with that team. So you prevailed 73-64 over NAU. What do you remember most about that final horn and cutting down the net in Boise?
I think it was only maybe 1 minute left before we kind of felt okay, we might actually get this win. It was close. It was that whole tournament. I felt like we came from behind. This team just kind of stayed calm and kept chipping away. And we got a few stops in a row and, hit a few baskets. I remember Jamie and Jacinta and Aaliyah and, all of them just really locking in and making big plays for us down the stretch. And then it came to, a timeout or something. I don't remember exact details, but just that calm of, okay, we got this. And we never wavered. We were down in the opening game against Weber in the third quarter. We were down by 8 with it at the media. But every time out, we were thinking, we just felt like it was ours. We had a chance to win and that we would make plays. And a lot of it, as you mentioned, is Jamie Loetta. She's just going to be the
glue. She's the glue.
If not the best, then one of the best to ever come through here. Because she could put a team on her shoulders and make a play at both ends for us when we needed it. And then, like I said, Jacinta Buckley also just was huge for us in the conference tournament. And she unfortunately had injuries throughout the year and finally was back, I think, the week before the conference tournament, made some huge plays for us on our Montana trip and then, played great for us in Boise. But it was just, like I said, such fun memories and just such a fun time.
You mentioned the supporting cast: Aaliyah Alexander, Jaleesa Lawrence, Jacinta Buckley, Millie Knowles, who I felt played really, really a huge role. That group was just really connected, but I do have to give some extra shout outs to Jamie Loetta. I mean, player of the year, defensive player of the year too. I mean, she had a poise about her. There was no question she would be tournament MVP. She was a special leader, but how meaningful was it to have her return on your staff the following year?
It was huge for us. Her sister Jordan was on our staff for during that time too. So just the Loetta family is they're just all amazing people, and I felt so blessed to have both of them on in our program. And then Jordan got a job at BYU, and that position opened up, and we didn't hire anybody immediately. And then a little bit later, we were able to have Jamie come on, and she was here. She didn't travel, so she wasn't here as a full-time employee, but she worked with us on a part-time basis and was here at practices all the time, and just really was a nice liaison with all our guards, and she had been there, and I just love having her around. And then I did have openings this year, and I tried to hire her like 2 or 3 different times, and it's just not what she wants to do right now, unfortunately. So I keep trying to get her on staff at some point, but she's just a great person, hard worker, most humble person that you would ever know. You wouldn't know that she had all these accolades, and she just loves to work and get better.
So describe that moment that you saw Eastern Washington pop up on the selection day, number 14 seed versus number 3 Oregon State. What did that experience mean for you personally and for the program?
Right. We went to a local restaurant. We had it all set up with our team, our fans, our admin, and the media was there, and it ended up being like more than the place could hold. And so it was kind of like streaming out into the streets. And it was just so much fun to, that your name is coming up. You have the automatic qualifier, but it's still, and it's just surreal, really. It's like Arch Madness, right? You watch that, we've been watching that our whole lives, and then to actually be a part of it. And so to see your name up there and to just experience it with all the people is great.
So when you reflect on that year, what's the lasting legacy of this team? And then also, it really changes the expectations for championship basketball moving forward, right? Because you've set the bar high.
Right. At the time, we were so locked into playing one game at the time. And I know that sounds cliche, but we were just locked in. And I know, actually a reporter asked me after the championship, about the historical implications. And I had the worst answer you could ever answer because I had not even thought about it. But then, after the season, you're able to look at it as just something obviously ultra special. It's something that had never been done here. And it's just a really cool feeling to be a part of. And then it's also just so much fun for the community and the support that came out up and down the area. Our families in California, everybody, following it on ESPN and watching every single game. And, so just that the historical implications of it, really resonated with us after the season. And, it was just kind of a cool experience to be a part of. And then now, it's always tough to try to stay there, right? The Big Sky's so good year in and year out. We, lost a couple kids in the transfer portal that year. But we were also able to gain a couple. So I think you kind of, it is what it is. And so maintaining excellence is probably even tougher. And so we just try to get kids that want to work really hard, that love to get better and improve every single day. I think that our staff does a great job of player development, and our players do get better, and they, love to represent Eastern and continue to try to win championships.
I think those challenges are so real, though, Joddie. When I look at the super teams that I like to call them now, that I've been calling these games for a while, where you have a team like Eastern, and Trisha Binford's had one, Seton Sobolewski's had another one, and it's hard because you have the challenges of trying to keep your program building, but yet you're not able to develop as many kids because you're playing these superstars and they're fighting for minutes. I mean, I look at your 5 that you had 7 that you were trying to rotate, and you're just trying to find the minutes, right? Because they're all, all conference caliber players. So I think that's just a challenge to continue to build when you have that team that ends up, making all the headlines and winning all the awards and winning a championship. I also think that the trajectory of women's basketball is just now you win a championship and these kids get their degrees and they transfer. And some of it has to do with things that don't even have to do with basketball, right? And in my day, we won a championship and then we wanted to win 3 or 4 in a row. Different times now. Those years are done. It's just not like that anymore. And so you're always having to not only, and I've mentioned this on other interviews, you're re-recruiting your own roster every single year as well. But you get graduate transfer Peyton Howard last year, who averaged, 14 points per game. But I think one of the best recruits is right here in our backyard in the state of Montana, Billings West, Kourtney Grossman. She took the Big Sky by absolute storm last year. I mean, it kind of gives me the chills even talking about her. I mean, she averaged 10 points, 10 rebounds a game, over 10 points, over 10 rebounds. She had 14 double-doubles last year in a stretch where she had like 7 in a row. She gets Freshman of the Year and honorable mention all-conference. Talk about Kourtney and what drew you to her game and how you were able to land her.
Yeah, we're just so happy that Kourtney Grossman is an EAG. We saw her on our club team, in the summer. The Northwest Blazers is a really good program in our area, but they stretch out into Montana. Steve Cleves had told us about her, so we went and watched and just loved her nose for the ball. You can talk about that. You can talk about rebounding. You can talk about blocking out, but there really isn't anything that you can teach in regards to somebody that has that motor and that drive and that ability to just chase down basketballs when they're coming off the rim. And so Kourtney did that obviously in her high school and her club, and she had some injuries in high school. And so she was very limited during that time and kind of in and out of rotations, in and out of being able to play. And so we could just see her athleticism, her motor, her ability to rebound, and just the type of person that she was. She is a worker. As you can tell by looking at her, she is no stranger to the weight room. And so
she gets after it. She's a force. She's a physical force. You look at her and you build your program around her, but she also makes a lot of people better, right? Because she takes up space. Sure. She plays both ends of the floor. It's not always that way for freshmen. They come in and maybe they struggle defensively, but Kourtney was just aggressive from the get-go for you.
Yeah. And I think that it's hard. It's really hard for freshmen to come in and excel and do well. And there's plenty of things that she, needed to work on. Obviously, the defensive end is one you just mentioned, just the rotations, the speed. Right. But she's a really fast learner, and she's a high IQ type of kid, and she wants to get better. And so super humble and never is talking about herself every time there's any type of award or information about her. She's always diverting it back to the team, and it's like, no, you're getting those rebounds. But she is just super humble. And so those kind of kids are the ones that just we're really drawn to, because they're all about team first. They want to get better. And Kourtney's just a stud and just a great human being. We just love having her.
So taking a look at this year, you just had a tough loss at Arizona State, although I think those are really great learning experiences. But you had a great win on November 3rd against Northwest. And I think some of those early games also are confidence builders, right? And I take a look at Ella Gallatin led all scorers with 21, but Kourtney Grossman did Kourtney Grossman things where she had 17 points and 8 boards. But I think another great surprise coming off the bench for you, Emily McElmurry, Missoula Sentinel product, that's playing for you as well. Her aunt, Katie, was a teammate of mine for the Lady Grizz. And yes, and so there's so much connection there. And her parents, Emily's parents, Christy and Blaine, a wonderful track. Her mom was an amazing track athlete, but her dad was part of the 1995 championship team over here for the Grizz, and then went on to have an NFL career that was fantastic. And then she has 2 sisters that are D1 track athletes. So Emily just brings a lot to your game, and she had 16 points. So can you talk just a little bit about Emily and what she brings to your team?
Yeah, Emily's another one that I think was under-recruited, and maybe because she did play so many other sports. She played soccer, too, in high school. So she was track, soccer, and basketball. I think she stopped playing soccer maybe after her freshman year or sophomore year, but, was definitely a multi-sport athlete, just like this. She's just a phenom athletically, and can run and jump. And, when we first got here, or when she first got here, our strength coach was just like, this class that you brought in, because we had JC, Kourtney, and Emily in that class, and they're just out jumping and performing in so many metrics that he did in his evaluations. And I think so Emily is one of those that just is gifted athletically, but also she just is an incredible worker and wants to improve and wants to get better and wants to watch film and will get extra shots up. And so she's really done that. And we had a really really senior laden team last year in the combo guard. So she didn't get as many minutes as she would have wanted probably, but she just kept working. She was always ready every single time she would get her chance. She was just bouncing off the bench and sprinting to the table and always, ready to do whatever we wanted. And then in this off season, she has just really dove into just skill development, getting better, and just learning the game a little bit more because, like I said, she's, been doing so many other things.
Well, I also want to bring up Ellen Bowers, which I think is a big time ad for you. She had a stellar career in Wyoming. I mean, I was reading about her. She was the Wyoming 3A West Player of the Year for 2023, 2024, and 2025. So I take a look at your guard front and who you brought in. That's a really great ad, Joddie.
Yeah, and it's pronounced Elin, so it looks like Elin.
Okay,
so
I got to get that down by TV
good.
time. Yes.
She's a great player. Has earned every accolade I think that you could earn in the state of Wyoming. Played on the EYBL circuit, so played on one of the top teams, the Mountain West Premier. So just has some really solid experience, and she is just a baller. She just wants to be in the gym. That's all she wants to do is hoop. And so we just love that about her. She's from a small town. She didn't want to go to a big city. She wanted to come to a small town atmosphere, and Cheney was just a great fit for her. We know we got her in here, and she committed before the July viewing period in her before her senior year, which we were stoked about because we knew that she was going to blow up once she went there. So, we're just super happy to have her, and she's starting for us as a freshman.
I know, and that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and so, she or Emily, either of them, you could really flip a coin which one we should have out there right now. And but they both are starters in our minds.
And they're getting good minutes. You also talk about starters, and you have your rotations, right? And there's certain times when you're going to play various combinations. So they're both getting great minutes.
Right. And he just has a high basketball IQ. She just knows how to play. She can find ways to score against anybody. She's led us against Arizona State. And she's just has the ability to score at all 3 levels and just knows how to put the ball in the basket. And so we're just super excited about her for this year and into the future, because she's just fit in really well with our returners and also just brings, that extra element.
Well, I think this is going to be a really exciting year. You take a look at the preseason polls, and it's funny because I get so into those. I'm a voting member of the media. But then as soon as the ball is tipped, I'm like, okay, so that's why it's preseason, because there is a long way to go, right? But we have a couple new faces around the Big Sky. Laura Dinkins and Karlie Burris, Portland State and NAU. How do you welcome in these first-year coaches? Do you reach out to them? Do you give them some extra kudos or advice, having been in their shoes not many years ago?
Those are two that I didn't know. I don't know coming in. Okay. It's definitely something I tried to do is, let me know if there's anything we can do type of thing. I am the WBCA, the conference captain. So the person that kind of sends out all the information from the WBCA to our coaches. And I know that Sobo is, knows the NAU
Dinkins.
Coach. So
yes, I mean, he's
probably a good link
worked with her
as well.
Yes. And I mean, she had a stellar career as an athlete for NAU. I mean, she played under Lori Kelly, but she was Defensive Player of the Year, went to an NCAA tournament. How neat for her, though, to come back to where she played. I always think that's pretty special.
I do, too. I think it's really cool when people get jobs at their alma mater. I think that it's, it's just something special about that, and I'm really happy that she was able to land that.
So when you take a look at the Big Sky, who do you feel, are teams that you're going to really have to look out for? I know the Montana trip is always hard to come over to Bozeman and Missoula, but who do you think in the conference really has a shot this year, outside of, obviously, Eastern Washington?
I think that our conference has so much parity. I think that it really is anyone's game. Night in and night out. It's a long stretch of games.
It is. It really is hard to even put that on you, because there is a long way to go.
Yeah. Montana State has a good core back with championship experience. So just their style of play. And we've had some good luck down there or up there, over there, wherever that is. I think that they're really tough. I think Idaho State has a ton of people back that they really started to peak at the end of the year and, have maybe their whole core back. But,
I think Tasia Jordan's one of the best players in the league. Yeah, she's so athletic. Sophia Cavello, Piper Carlson, Casey Spink. Yeah. I mean, they definitely return a core that I think should be competing. And then, you look at Montana and Avery Waddington and Matt Koning. I mean, what a run last year that they made as a 6th seed. They came within just a basket of going to the NCAA tournament. So I think, Nate Harris, he's in his official first year too, but he's got a couple players too. So I think they'll always be in the mix.
Yeah, I think the Grizz also, like you said, those guys have a good core back. Idaho has a bunch of transfers, so they're kind of unknown. But
Arthur Morera works hard. I mean,
accolades are good. Yeah.
He puts a good product on the floor. I mean, he made me a believer last year. Defensively, he really got after it, and I was very impressed.
They get up and down. They have a lot of weapons, and just their action that they run is tough to guard. And so it's something that is, like you said, they really kind of made that run toward the end. But they do have a lot of new faces, so I think a lot of that is unknown. I think SAC had some transfers that came in with, and then
Natalie Picton. I mean, she changes things in Abenta. I mean, she's a premier player. I mean, she has one motor. And it's just going.
So with Versteeg and Picton, that's a pretty good guard combo. And then their post is returning.
Fatu Jete.
I thought she's been there like 8 years. But
I know she was at NAU.
This might be the last.
And I saw her in the starting lineup. Yeah. I mean, she's had injuries. She's been plagued by injuries. Yeah. And we are seeing some of these kids that are just here for many years. Multiple programs. But I know that she really can be a force down low. So she'll have to be someone that programs really take notice of.
For sure. So I think up and down, there's some unknowns with the transfer portal, these days. So I think that you see people get, different players from different schools, but until they really show up and,
show out,
mesh with the team,
right?
Yeah, you don't really know.
Well, Joddie, I can't thank you enough for taking time with me today to go around the Big Sky Women's Hoops. It's a real passion of mine, like bringing awareness to our league and these fantastic coaches and female athletes. I'm just like a huge advocate of the Big Sky, and it's been fun to get a chance to like talk with you more than just like a 5-minute interview that I normally get a chance when we're heading into a game. Is there anything else that you want to add or give a special shout out to anyone? Your family? I feel like I mentioned all of your family members on the air one year, and I do have a list.
I know. My parents are still in Colusa, California, and all my aunts and uncles that watch every game. So it's just so much fun. I get the texts. My mom has the texts to everybody, just to the Go Eags and just reminding them of the games. And
I love that.
My best friend's parents, like all the people that are, always following us. I just really appreciate them.
Well, Joddie, thanks. And I can't wait to watch your team this year, and we'll connect soon. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome in to Around the Big Sky in Women's Hoops with Hall of Fame coach Karlie C.T. Taylor, former Weber State standout and the program's all-time winningest coach. Each week, CT joins me right here to break down the matchup, storylines, and rising stars shaping women's basketball across the Big Sky. CT, welcome in.
Thank you. It's great to be back. I'm excited to talk about basketball or hoops in the Big Sky after everybody's finally got to play a game or two or three.
Isn't that so true? I mean, for a while we were hanging on with the exhibitions. Now we're fully in non-conference. So You called your first game of the season. How did that go?
Oh my gosh, I was a little rusty. I think those of you who are really in the profession, I just have such a great appreciation because I get in there and man, you just, having not done it for a year, you're rusty and the words you're not able to flow. And but it was fun and fun to see Weber State on the home court with their players because I tried to watch the Colorado State game, but I couldn't get it. I didn't know it wasn't on ESPN Plus, so I wasn't able to watch that game.
So Weber State with a win over Westminster. I think what's hard each year is getting used to the new roster, right? You're getting used to names and you're getting just affiliated with the fact that these rosters seem to change every single year. Hannah Robbins, the Montana State transfer to Weber State for Gentile Jackson. Talk about her. How did she look? She had 16 points.
Yes, she was really impressive in that game. And you can tell that her defensive coaching and the philosophy of Montana State head coach Trish Benford, that she was everywhere. She had hands in the passing lane. She was tipping balls. She was all over the place and knocked down 16 points and 3 of 9 from the 3-point line. Had 4 assists, 4 steals. It was really, I didn't put it together until started watching her play, and then going, oh, she was at Montana State last year, and obviously probably didn't play a whole lot, but she will definitely be a huge impact player for Weber State this year.
So possibly a missing piece. I mean, 6 feet. Yes. So she brings a lot of agility and athleticism, some size to that position. So, you told me she was shooting some threes. Was she on the perimeter then or playing any inside?
No, she was mostly on the perimeter the whole game. And then they had another transfer, Nicole Willardson, a junior out of Utah Tech, had 18 points. She's 6'4", so they have a presence in the post from her. But also another player that steps out and shoots the three as a post player at 6'4".
I noticed another transfer, Paris Lorero.
Yes.
The 6-foot junior. So she transferred from New Mexico and she rounded out the starting lineup. So, Gentile Jackson putting some athletic height on the floor.
Yes, they're really a lot taller, a lot more length on them, a lot more athleticism and depth. I mean, last year, the backcourt team, they played with 7 or 8 players almost the entire conference season last year. So, knock on wood, hope you can keep them all healthy, but they also lost Mata Peo'ua, who went on a mission, who was a freshman that saw significant time, and then also Dakota Knapp, a torn ACL during the summer. So two sophomores that would be sophomores that aren't playing this year.
Well, and here we're talking about rosters. We haven't even mentioned Emma Nopu or Billie Lanai. And those are two of the main players for Weber State. Nopu had 9 rebounds and 10 points against Westminster. Billie Lanai, 7 points, and she's the Fort Lewis College transfer, but she gave them really great minutes last year.
Yes, and in the Colorado State game, Emma Nopu had 22 points, and I think Billie had 11 at Colorado State in their loss at Colorado State. So assuming that those transfers maybe had first game division, jitters at the Colorado State game. So it was good for them to come in at Westminster. And they're going to face a really good UC Davis team that I happened to watch Friday night play against Idaho, or Friday afternoon against Idaho, who had just come off a big win against Washington State and got beat by UC Davis. And you think the University of Idaho shoots a lot of threes. UC Davis, I don't know the stats, but they put up a ton of three-point shots.
We really do need to talk about that Idaho game because that was a really big one for them to go into the Palouse and to pull off the win. You take a look at Hope Hossman. I think she's just tough for Arthur Marrera, but also Kyra Gardner. She's the transfer.
Carrie Gardner was transferred from Washington State, goes into her previous school and scores and will be a big impact for the University of Idaho.
She's a guard at 5'11". She had 26 points, but it looks like she's bringing a lot of agility. And then you also have, they return, Ana Pinheiro from Portugal and Ella Uriati. I hope we're going to work on these names, CT, as we go. And also Aya Barici as well. And so it looks like Arthur Marrera has a lot that he's returning, and to compete and to go, get a win over Washington State, that's really big.
Yes, and the game at UC Davis in defense of University of Idaho, in defense of the Vandals, it was elementary field trip day. There were 5,500 screaming kids, and UC Davis looked like they were playing in the conference tournament championship. They were on fire. Everything they put up went in. They were just, if they weren't making threes, they were driving to the basket, making acrobatic layups, and really a good-looking team for this early in the season. And the first 3 quarters, Idaho matched them, basket for basket, but then that fourth quarter, UC Davis just kind of pulled away.
Well, I've called the school day games, and I feel like it's just a constant pitch of screaming, but it doesn't really change. I've called them in Dahlberg Arena, and it's been completely sold out, and it's just constant.
I think the energy it brings to a game when you're not used to having 5,000 or 6,000 kids screaming the entire game. I think when you're the home team, it's great. When the visiting team, it kind of sucks.
Well, to continue around the Big Sky, Idaho State gets a really big win at Grand Canyon in front of a boisterous crowd of over 3,000. Grand Canyon really does draw. And that was a really great game. And of course, my girl, Tasia Jordan, I'm a fan. She had back-to-back games of over 20 points, but I'm telling you, she's going to really make a difference for Idaho State this year.
She is so athletic and has so many tools in the toolbox that not a lot of Big Sky teams have, that she will cause havoc throughout the year. Her defense, her offensive ability to stop and pop or get to the rim, get to the free throw line, she is really a dynamic player, and I'm sure Seton is smiling from ear to ear about her.
Well, and, visiting with Coach Sobolewski last week, she elevates. So, she not only has, just a great pull-up jumper, but she really gets up. It's just she can step up a whole nother level, and I think she just creates some problems on the defensive end for teams. And then, Piper Carlson, 16 points. She was 7 for 9 from the field, and Casey Spink, 13 points, 5 assists, 4 steals. I just feel like her game is coming full circle. And so Idaho State could really be in the mix, obviously right now at 2-0. Great start for them.
They really are a solid returning team. And then with the addition of new players and transfers, and I haven't looked closely at them, but just to see that their returning players are so solid in his system, yeah, look out for Idaho State.
So they have a nice home stretch. They got UC, Irvine, and South Dakota at home. Making the rounds this week, I'm going to get a chance to visit with Coach Joddie Gleason, which you'll hear on the segment. But Eastern Washington, 1-1. They had a pretty bad loss at Arizona.
But not, I mean, it was respectable. It wasn't, I mean, they didn't get blown out. And it's hard to go into those bigger schools and, you maybe compete the first half, and they just usually have so much more depth than we do as teams in the Big Sky. So you compete for a while, and then your kids just get run down. But it was a respectable showing, I think, by Eastern Washington and Jody's team.
Well, of course, we've talked about Kourtney Grossman, J.C. Eggers, Bella Hayes. There's a few other, Ella Gallatin. But what I was really impressed with is this Ellen Bowers, who was the Wyoming 3A West Player of the Year for Wyoming in 2023, 2024, and 2025. So she's coming in as a freshman. She had 15 points in the last game, but again, Coach Gleason plucks one out of the backyard in Wyoming.
Yes, she does some great recruiting because she's pulled people from out of state, as well as she really is solid in recruiting her in-state players to build the team. And then she plucks one here and there, a little rebounder from Montana, the state of Montana, and now she's got a great little player from Wyoming. They do their homework, and obviously are having success with it.
Well, Kourtney Grossman, 10 points, 9 rebounds. She's just athletic, and she gets after it on both ends. And I just, I love to see players that really fill the stat line with rebounds in addition to points. She just goes after it. She's one of those hustle players, CT.
Yes.
The kind that, do a lot of the dirty work underneath, and you can just tell she's involved in every play.
Right. She doesn't take a play off. She's playing every possession, and that's a gutsy kind of kid that every coach in the country would like to have.
Yes. Well, moving along to the Montana schools, Montana State gets that win against Carroll and then gets a good one at Portland, a good solid win.
Yes.
Taylor Cherrick, 23 points, 7 assists, 6 steals. Addie Harris, 18 points. So her 2 veteran leaders. But what was really great is to see a Brooke, formerly Barry, Fatu Paito, who's married, with 14 points. And so she gave them a nice look off the bench. In addition to Brianne Bailey, who's another new face for Coach Binford. And then, I've been so bummed about Dylan Phillip with her injury. Well, her sister steps in, Jamison Phillip, and is now starting. So you got 2 sisters on the Montana State team. It should be just what you expect from Coach Binford. She's just going to continue to put quality players on the floor and compete in every game.
Right, and watching that game, the Montana State game at Portland, just their defensive pressure causes so many problems for teams that don't understand the level that they play at and the speed that their defense, and it speeds teams up and creates havoc. It creates turnovers. It creates quick shots. It was fun to watch that. And your little Blythe Holmes,
Grace Hintz,
daughter, got to play sometimes. She got in as a freshman. So we talk about transfers, but we're also seeing freshmen that coaches are recruiting that are immediate impacts on the team and getting some significant playing time.
Well, moving along to Montana, Montana went 14-18 last year and tied for 5th in the Big Sky with an 8-10 league record. The Lady Grizz, the number 6 seed, advanced the Big Sky Championship in March, where they lost, 1 basket, final second. Nate Harris, in his first season as the head coach, he was acting as the interim last year for the final 17 games. Montana's picked 2nd, CT, in both the coaches and the media poll. It looks like Waddington, she's just a player. She had a great game, and obviously tough loss against Oregon, but she played really well in the outing. And she's just a player. She's solid.
They have a core returning group that played under Nate, so they bring that and then the experience from that, and they're playing a tough 2-game road trip at Oregon and then at Washington. Obviously some guarantee games, but great experience for a team that is really a veteran team So it'll be interesting. I watched a little bit of the Oregon game. It's just hard to go into those schools. Like, flip the scene and have them come to Dahlberg Arena, court of Robin Selvig, and you have a whole different opportunity. So, but it is good experience to play against that kind of competition and realize that's what you have to be at the end of the year for the conference tournament. And then if your aspirations are to go on to the NCAA tournament, those are the type of teams you're going to play.
Northern Colorado, 2-0. We have not talked a lot about Coach Matteo and her Northern Colorado Bears. They had a win against Northern New Mexico College, and they also had one other win against Lamar.
It's an overtime win at home for Coach Matteo and the Northern Colorado Bears. So big win against a respectable Lamar team.
Right. Nina George, she played really well last season off the bench, and she gave Coach Matteo a lot of minutes during the tournament. Actually, she played 33 against Weber State on March 3rd. And so she's been in the mix, but she's kind of been the go-to along with Erin Powell, Tatum West, Gabby Fields, Anaya Hall, and London Gamble's coming off the bench. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Maybe she's sending a message. All-conference pick last year. Again, CT, you don't know. Injuries, things are going on. It doesn't really matter in the non-conference or right as we're getting ready to go. But certainly Northern Colorado could be in the mix.
Yes, and Coach Matteo, we've talked about this, she just really does an incredible job of coaching and teaching on the defensive end and then using the strength of her players on the offensive end. And, each year's different, as we see with everybody, and as coaches, you have to adjust. And it'll be exciting to see how, you never want to count them out, because a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, they made a run that wasn't expected in the conference tournament. So she does a nice job with her team, and I'm excited to watch them play.
Sac State, starting out the year 2-1. They had a really big win against Nevada, dropped one to Cal, 52-69. But that big win against Nevada, just a statement win for Coach Aaron Koloff.
Bentha Versteg has 16 against Nevada Reno. Natalie Picton had 13, another transfer that is immediate impact on a team coming from Montana State. Natalie goes into Sac State and alongside Versteg, and she's scoring and I'm sure helping them defensively. And Sac State, we talked about it, they have a lot of weapons and led by MVP preseason, who I think is a great player, and that's Bentha Versteg.
All right, CT, here's another one of my favorites, Fatu Jaite. Yes. Now, she started with Coach Payne at NAU. She's had some injuries, but Fatu is a player. And take note, she is.
She's a rebounder. She's a defender. She can score. And she's solid inside.
She is. So it was great to see Jayte back in the starting lineup for Coach Koloff. And I'm like, ooh, Versteeg, Natalie Picton, and Fatu Jayte. That could be a combo right there, those three. They're going to go to UC San Diego and at Long Beach, and then they'll have a couple home games, Cal State Fullerton and UC Davis. But we'll definitely have to keep our eye on those pesky Hornets.
Sac State, they put up a lot of points. And they can push the ball. If they have to go half court, they've got players that inside, outside that can score, and a real solid Sac State team.
CT, thank you so much for joining me around the Big Sky in women's hoops. This segment is brought to you by Peter Hamill, your Montana Vertical Raise rep. Premier online fundraising platform with a clear, concise message and the best technology interface. Learn more at verticalraise406.com. Thank you, CT. We'll see you next week.
Okay, great. Can't wait to watch some more Big Sky basketball.
Thanks as well to Joddie Gleason, head coach for the Eastern Washington Eagles, for the insight and for taking the time with me today. And thanks to you for listening. This week's episode of the Krista Redpath Show is brought to you by Laird Karlie, Montana's professional team of attorneys, helping you navigate life's legal challenges the Montana way. Visit lairdkarlie.com to learn more. Coming up next week, we will continue to go around the Big Sky in women's hoops. Next stop, Sacramento, where we visit with Coach Aaron Koloff, who's entering his third season for the Sac State Hornets.